एक वर्ड आता है फ्रॉम द पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू। आपने बस लाइन से नीचे यू बना देना है। ये बनता था बियॉन्ड और ये बनता था आपका यू, और उसी सिंबल को लाइन से नीचे टच करते हुए बॉटम लाइन पे इसको पढ़ेंगे फ्रॉम द पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू। कंप्लीट। बहुत ज्यादा आता है, बहुत बार आता है, तो सिंबल छोटा है इसका। यू लिखते हो आप, आपने सीखा था यू में अगर हैव का हुक लगा देंगे क्या बन जाएगा ये यू हैव। इसी पैटर्न पे बनता है विच हैव और हु हैव। ऑल ऑफ यू, तो ऑल का क्या सिंबल है ऑल, टू बी का 1/3 हिस्सा लाइन से ऊपर जो बनता है उसको पढ़ते हैं ऑल, और लाइन में पढ़ते हैं उसको क्या पढ़ते हैं टू। तो ऑल ऑफ यू, ऑल में क्या लगा देंगे यू। ऑल ऑफ यू। अबाउट होता, अगर वर्ड अबाउट होता तो फिर यहां यू नहीं बनता है, वो औ बनता है। आपने लिखना है इन पॉइंट ऑफ फैक्ट, तो इन बनाएंगे और के को डिसजॉइंट करके लगा देंगे, क्या होगा इन पॉइंट ऑफ फैक्ट। इन फैक्ट होता तो ज्वाइंट होता। इन पॉइंट ऑफ फैक्ट। इन ऑर्डर के लिए क्या करते हो, देखो इन ऑर्डर के लिए हम क्या करते हैं एनआर को हाफ कर देते हैं इन ऑर्डर टू, क्या बन जाता है इन ऑर्डर टू। लेकिन सिर्फ डबलिंग करती तो क्या होता इन ऑर्डर। अगर नॉर्मल स्टॉक बनाते तो आपके पास में दो ऑप्शन होते हैं, इन अवर पढ़ने का और नोर पढ़ने का। हम नोर के लिए क्या करते हैं आगे टिक लगाते हैं स्टार्टिंग से ही, ताकि इन अवर और नोर में डिफरेंस हो सके। इन ऑर्डर टू में हाफिंग, इन ऑर्डर में डबलिंग, इन अवर और नोर। अब एक वर्ड आता है इन ऑर्डर टू बिकम, तो इन ऑर्डर टू हाफ किया, बिकम के लिए की लगा दिया, क्या बन गया इन ऑर्डर टू बिकम। आपको लिखना है इन ऑर्डर टू ओवरकम, तो ये जो के का सिंबल है इसको ऊपर लगा दो, ये ओवरकम हो जाएगा इन ऑर्डर टू ओवरकम। इन अवर इनकम, ये इन अवर है, डिसजॉइंट करके यहां पे लगा दो के को फुल लेंथ के साथ, इन अवर के साथ जो नॉर्मल साइज होता है इन अवर इनकम। लिखो वर्ड लिखो बियॉन्ड यू फ्रॉम द पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू you have, which have, who have, all of you, about, all of us, in point of fact, in order to, in order, in our, nor, in order to become, in order to overcome, in our income। ठीक है, एक मैंने आपको वर्ड बोल दिया इसके अंदर ऑल ऑफ अस, तो ऑल में डार्क वाले में सर्कल लगा देंगे, ऑल ऑफ अस पढ़ेंगे। लिखो डिक्टेशन लिखोगे, पहले 100 भी लिखोगे फिर 80 भी लिखोगे, और जो डिक्टेशन आपको मिलेगी उसके अंदर ऐप के अंदर SSC CND ग्रेड स्किल टेस्ट 16 के नाम से मिलेगी इस URL में 3p program.steno18.in। ये आपको आपके आईडी में मिल जाएगी और डेमो में मिल जाएगी, दोनों में मिल जाएगी। रेडी? स्टार्ट इट। सर, We in Parliament are being asked to endorse the proclamation. At the same time, we have not been furnished with the report which the governor had sent to the president. Now, how can we give our verdict on a matter of such importance until and unless all the material facts warranting the proclamation under Article 356 of the Constitution are placed before us? Yesterday, the Honorable the Home Minister said that this report contained only certain facts and figures with regard to the party positions in the dissolved Andhra Assembly. In that case, what is the objection to placing that report before us? It would not give us anything particularly new except certain arrangement of figures made by the governor of Andhra with a view to advising the president as to the course he should take. We submit that his report contains something else. It was the duty of the government to place the entire report before us for the closest possible scrutiny and the most meticulous examination by members of this House and of the other House, because this report lies at the bottom of the whole thing as far as the constitutionality of the action of the president is concerned. Therefore, I submit that a fiat of the executive is sought to be endorsed by Parliament without telling us the grounds on which that fiat had been exercised. Constitutionally, this is improper. Then, sir, the President also says that he had considered other information receiving by him. We have not been told yet as to what was this other information, neither have we been told about the source of such information. I do not know exactly on what basis the President applied his mind to the subject. We know that we cannot make any reflection on the President. He is a very wise man and wiser still by virtue of the occupation of the presidency, but I think we can call in question whether his mind had been rightly applied in a matter of such great importance and national concern. Our contention is that the President has not been in a position to apply his mind fairly and squarely to this subject because the report which had been submitted to him had been preserved, distorted and false. Our contention is also that the other reports which had been submitted to him are not fully objective and truthful. This we are in a position to say all the more because if the case for the government was so foolproof, Dr. Karju would have been the last person to withhold his report from us. I think that something is wrong in the reports and maybe the members of this House, having looked at the reports, would have discovered certain facts which do not go to justify the case that the government has sought to make out in support of the proclamation. Apprehending such a possibility, I think Dr. Karju has thought it wise to withhold this report from the House. Having done it, he asked us to endorse almost blindfold a measure which is described as undemocratic even by certain members of the Congress party. Many constitutional points have been touched. It has been sought to be made out in this House that this is the best democratic step that the government could take. We say that is not at all a democratic step which has been taken. We are supposed to have a parliamentary system. We must have our own conventions. We have got our own constitution, but we are told time and again in this House and in the other House that there are the British Constitution and their parliamentary practice which one should imitate. Now imagine a situation of this sort in England. Would the Crown have taken such a measure at all if a certain party had been voted out of office by the opposition? I think in a comparable situation there, the king would have inevitably called the leader of the opposition to explore the possibilities of forming a government. Without doing it, he would have never taken recourse to extraordinary measures like this. If this method had been resorted to in the United Kingdom, a serious constitutional crisis affecting not merely the internal politics of the parliament but the political life outside would have ensued. In France, for instance, there are many parties. No party by itself enjoy an absolute or a comfortable majority. What happens there? Ministry is formed and there we find the president takes upon himself the responsibility of exploring ways and means of finding whether any particular party or any leader of any party is in a position to present a government which would command the confidence of a certain majority in the chamber of deputies. Without resorting to that objective test, he does not take recourse to extraordinary measures. In the present case, I say this objective test has not been at all applied. One may or may not have certain feelings. I am glad that the government is thinking in terms of the small growers. By all means, give them representation, but let not an attempt be made as though the bigger growers are not looking after the interests of the small growers, because that is far from the truth. If the coffee board has achieved one grand result, it is to rehabilitate and help the small growers. So far as the question of payment from the pool is concerned, the small grower gets the full amount due according to the costing the moment he delivers the coffee. There is a separate method of costing and the whole amount is paid immediately, whereas in the case of the bigger growers, it is not so. Payments are made as and when coffee is sold in the market and abroad. Supposing this aid was not there for the small grower, what would have happened? He would have had to make distress sales. He would have had to take whatever the market was able to offer, and he would not have had the benefit of export prices which rule as much as 100% over the above the home prices. ये 1040 के आसपास वर्ड है, 100 की स्पीड है, और ये आपको मिल जाएगा, जो कंटेंट मिलेगा आपको सेम नाम रहेगा, SSC C D स्किल टेस्ट, और यहाँ पे आ जाएगा आपको @100 विद कोमा, ये विद कोमा के नाम से आपको मिल जाएगा। अब आप 80 पे लिखेंगे, वो आपको दो पोर्शन में मिलेगा, एक विद कोमा, एक नो कोमा। रेडी? Start it. Madam Deputy Chairman, I welcome this opportunity to make a few observations during the discussion on the finance bill. At this stage, therefore, it is better to use this opportunity to make a survey of the economic situation and find out what the present condition of the people is, whether they are satisfied, and if they are not satisfied, what the reasons are. I feel this responsibility is greater today when the American aid is likely to be reduced, and therefore we have got to stand more on our own legs. When the plan was set forth, there were three sources from which we hoped to get finance for the plan, namely our own resources from the revenues, loans within the country through savings, and thirdly, foreign help. The latter we need not discuss here. If we study the accomplishments of the plan and the resources that it has been possible to raise, we cannot deny that our expectations have not been fulfilled, and we have therefore to find out the reasons which have led to that situation. Here, incidentally, I would like to touch in a sentence or two the entire theme of the speech of Mr. Bhupesh Gupta. It is very easy to say this should be done or this could have been done from the opposition point of view, but I would like to ask him a question and he can reply to it later in some other speech, whether in Russia it would be possible for anybody not in the debate in the parliament, but even outside, to utter a single sentence against the government policy. In our democratic setup, we have allowed the people to criticize government policies. Even as Congress people, we are free to criticize the policies of the government, but the point is whether the doubts raised in the minds of the public by the people in the opposition who show their loyalty to a different setup would be conducive to create the enthusiasm that is necessary and the inspiration that is necessary to give their very best to fulfill the targets of the plan. This planned economy is really not a thing that will go successfully hand in hand with a democratic setup unless some other things are there, and they are the inculcation of a national spirit, giving of proper national education to develop a national outlook. Unless these things are done as they are in other countries like England, unless that type of spirit is created in the country by all the people of all types of views, not being allowed to create differences and doubts in the minds of the people, we cannot in a democratic setup have the success which we want, and we cannot fulfill our promises to the people. Without going further into that aspect, which really came to my mind as a result of the long speech of Mr. Bhupesh Gupta, I would like to make a few suggestions so that a proper attitude towards giving of one's best to the plan and to raise the national economy can be developed. I would like to make 3 or 4 points. Firstly, we have to see that we take steps to check corruption at any level, whether it is some of the people in the public sector or among the officials. Then we have also to see that we give a proper type of education, rouse a proper spirit of service. We must also check the trends for inflation and also lay stress on austerity so that the people will feel that there is something at stake. I would not like to take much time of the house. The main problem in our country is the growing population, and in spite of all the efforts that are made to raise the standard of living and raise production, etc., the results are not as easily perceptible as they should have been. That is a separate problem by itself, but in spite of that, it is possible for the government to show better results if the government were to undertake immediately and see that some of the promises that are made, the acts that are passed, and the plans that are drawn up are properly implemented. I have been seeing this lacuna in the present position. Now, the government have started a new ministry called the Coordination Ministry. It was very necessary because the plans of the different ministries sometimes were likely to go contrary to each other's aims. I do not want to go into details. For instance, take the question of the promotion of export. A commodity may be exported, but the price of that commodity in the country to the consumer may go on rising. Who is to see to that? Take tea, for example, it had to be exported and nobody was there to see whether there was enough tea for consumption in the country and what was the प्राइस एट विच इट वॉज अवेलेबल टू द कंज्यूमर इन द पास्ट। ये कंटेंट जो है आपको 85 के आसपास बोला गया है, फ्लक्चुएशन 90 तक का है, और 840 वर्ड मेंशन किए गए, इसमें थोड़े वर्ड कम होंगे। आपको ये जो मिलेगा टेस्ट में मिल जाएगा आपको सेम नाम से, आगे जाके @80, एक नो कोमा मिलेगा, एक विद कोमा मिल जाएगा आफ्टर 5 मिनट। अगर आपने कोई भी एक्शन लिखा तो डिक्टेशन रूम में बैठेंगे, सीन कंटेंट लिखेंगे।